Hey everyone, welcome back to Talk Tech with Tiff. Today I'm sitting down with Lucy, who is the founder of Hackergal. We are talking about her journey leading up to Hackergal, how she started Hackergal, and what Hackergal is all about. Okay, that's a lot of Hackergals, but you get the point. I hope you enjoy this conversation, and let's get right to it.
Welcome to my new series called Talk Tech with Tiff, where I am sitting down with industry professionals to hear about their career journeys and current roles. I created this series to hear from people who are established in the tech industry so that we can all learn what these individuals do in their day-to-day jobs and the type of opportunities that are out there. Okay, let's get started.
Hi Lucy, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me. It's been so long.
I know. Outside of just catching up and through different things, but we sat down, I think it was 3 years ago.
Oh my goodness, I can't tell anymore with the past like 3, 5. I don't even know what year we're on. So it's been a while.
It's been a while. But I'm excited to be sitting down with you again. And you have such an interesting story leading up to founding and starting Hackergal. And I think that's a great place to start. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your career history before Hackergal and how it led to Hackergal.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I'm trying to think back down memory lane. I feel like everything has been a blur. But I think when I first, my passion for technology started when I was actually a graduate of the University of Waterloo. I graduated in environment and business, which is not your conventional route to work in tech, but that's the beauty of tech. There's a place for anybody. I graduated, and much like many university students, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew that I wasn't passionate about the environment the way that my peers were. My peers were like finding new ways to count greenhouse gases and like all of this crazy stuff. And I'm like, it's amazing, but my heart wasn't there the way that I think my peers were. So in the Waterloo community, there's a huge tech scene, and that's where a lot of the startup companies came from, alongside Toronto, of course. So one of my friends actually was like, hey, why don't you come work at the startup company that I'm doing? He was much younger than me, so it was really cool, kind of just like not your conventional route. Like you're not working in a corporate place where there's like 15,000 departments, etc. So I worked with him for a couple of years in the operations and project management role, and I immediately was fascinated by technology. I knew nothing about it, but I was attracted to the energy that the startup scene brought. So from there, it was kind of like, it wasn't a straight line, but it was like more just finding myself what I was really good at, what I wasn't good at. Then I moved to Toronto, worked in venture capital for a couple of years, and it was really cool because I got to see the other side of the table where it was companies coming to pitch their ideas, entrepreneurs coming with from so many different backgrounds, which was so cool to see. But I think the main experience I had was that many times I was the only woman in the room, the only person of color in the room, probably the youngest person in the room. So that's kind of what led me to create Hackergal as a cool idea to get more girls interested in STEM. So when I say girls, I mean girl-identified students as well. And what was a solution for teachers in the classroom became a national movement to close the gender gap in tech. So it's been a wild ride, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. It's been so rewarding and so impactful to work with so many communities across Canada.
Wow. Yes. Oh my goodness. And your journey too, from going back to your days at Waterloo and studying, going to school for business and the environment to where you are today. It's such an interesting, through just what you told me, I have so many questions. I'm going to try and write them in. But I guess one of them, kind of going back to the beginning of your story, when you made that leap or jump, or you got into tech initially, what was it like? What was your experience like going from a non-tech background? I think there's still this misconception that if you don't go to school for something tech related, you can't get into tech. And that's a question I get asked a lot is, I came from a marketing background or I came from a business background. How can I get into tech? What advice or what was your experience like with that?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think I get that a lot too when girls are like, well, I can't code or I'm not good at coding. How do I see my place in tech?
Yes.
And what I have to say to that is like when you think about all of the apps that you use every single day and you really dig deeper, those are companies building your Ubers, your Lyfts, like whatever the case is. Marketing has a place in that, user interface, design, all of that good stuff. So I think just what I would say to them is just honestly, follow your passion. And like, if you're really good at marketing, apply for that marketing role at your favorite tech company or whatnot, because there is a place for you and it takes a community to make technology. And I always say too, diversity thrives with technology, right? So it's like more perspectives. It's not just like the perspective of a coder or a developer.
Exactly.
It's like every component that makes a product work or a service work, right? So I think more and more people are seeing that as technology has become more relevant in our everyday lives. There's a lot more talk about roles in tech, so that's the good part.
I love that. It's so true. And it is one of the most exciting things about the tech industry is when I was growing up, I was very interested in fashion and I thought that's what I wanted to do. But I thought if I was interested in something, I had to go into that specific industry. But with tech, you can have so many, whether you're interested in sports or fashion, there's so many different things. You can go work at a company that's a tech company that focuses on fashion or maybe they're building a fashion app or a sports app or whatever. There's unlimited kind of possibilities.
Yeah, totally. And like the digital skills is like the language of today to like the future, right? So it's so cool to see even like my peers that are in environment and business, there's tech companies that focus on environmental products, environmental technology, right? Materials that are sustainable, that are built through tech. So it's amazing to see how technology is literally infiltrated in every single sector.
I know. It's really cool. Going back to Hackergal, you mentioned that you're throughout Canada now.
Yeah.
But when you started, tell me about the early days when you started. Was it just Toronto based? How did it kind of expand?
Yeah, when I first started, and caveat there, I did not have an education background.
Okay, yeah.
So I was not a teacher.
Yeah.
But I was like, how do I actually, like, what is this problem that I'm identifying? The problem I thought was that girls were not exposed to computer science at an early age. So I was literally like, what is the best way to get this experience to kids, specifically girls? And I was like, it's through the classroom.
Yeah.
It's through the educators. It's through the facilitators. So back then in 2015, when I started Hackergal, I literally used social media, Tiff, and I'm not a social media guru at all, but I was like DMing teachers that were tagging STEM, they were tagging coding. And because like, who's Lucy? And like, obviously when we are working with the school systems, there's a lot of red tape about who they work with, accessibility, all of that. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you have to consider. Yeah. But yeah, I started Hackergal as a pilot with 30 girls in Toronto. And I did that because I DM'd teachers and I was like, hey, I have something really cool that I think you might be interested in. I noticed that you're interested in STEM. Like, would you be open to having a conversation with me? And the magic of social media and technology in that day allowed me to connect with teachers I wouldn't have had relationships with. So what started with the 30 girl hackathon grew into like that teacher would tell someone else that told someone else. So it was very much a grassroots approach, which I'm so proud of because even to today, our team works one-on-one with teachers and facilitators to make sure they're comfortable hosting coding programs in their classroom because every school is so different. Every community is so different, right? Yeah. So yeah, it was very much a grassroots approach, and then it caught like the people found out about it, which was really cool. Hackergal is all of our programs are free for students across Canada and teachers to use. So it became a resource that teachers leveraged because nowadays they do have to teach coding in their curriculum in most provinces.
Exactly. 2015 in many ways wasn't that long ago, 7 years ago. And I'm curious to hear though, because 2015 was really on the cusp or right before, I would say, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was before almost this whole women in tech movement or, really pushing for that. So as someone who started out in 2015 with Hackergal, how have you seen it evolve?
That's a great question. Yeah, that's actually what led me to found Hackergal, because of my experience in tech.
Yeah.
Now, like, it's exactly what you said. In 2015, women in tech was not nearly as talked about. There wasn't as many resources, events, mentors that you can lean on. Women were still very, very, like, it was different to see women in tech, like a woman in a room, women sitting at a boardroom table. And that's really where I found that my experience led me to create an experience for girls that they can actually see themselves in roles, like women featured in tech companies, leaders in tech, CEOs in tech. So yeah, it was not nearly a thing, but luckily now with a lot more talk about it, diversity, focus, there are a lot more women, and I'm proud to say that girls have representation. It's not a lot, but it's still moving. It's getting there, which is nice to see.
Yeah. And now also now also thanks to, like Hackergal, that's a huge part of it too.
And you and the work that you're doing in your space, Tiff.
Yeah. Well, no, it's so important. And I absolutely love what you're doing. And it's something that I wish I had. I'm sure you get this often from adults as well. Like, I wish I had something like Hackergal when I was young, because when I was growing up, I didn't associate, everything about technology, and for me, coding is, I love it because I'm creative, but I'm using my logic. Like, it's both sides, and I'm building different things. But when I was younger, I just associated that with fashion, like, okay, building different kind of pieces together and things like that, which is a great way to use that. But when you're not exposed to it at all, you just don't even.
You don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And that's what I always say. Girls don't know what they don't know. And that's why it's so important that girls are exposed to opportunities at a young age. And I always say, like, when girls are taking computer science or exposed to computer science in grade 9 or grade 10, where they have to choose if they want to take it in as elective, they'll miss the boat if they don't know earlier, right? Like, come grade 10, they're like, oh, well, I've never dabbled in it. I'm not going to take computer science as an elective because I've never done it before and I don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And then come grade 12, when they're like, oh, shoot, I probably should have.
Yes.
Then that's where the problem is. You're not going to go back 3 years worth of electives to complete that prerequisite to get into like U of T or whatnot.
Exactly.
For that comp-sci course.
And then it just gets, I don't want to say harder, but it does get a,
well, your window of opportunity kind of like closes.
It does.
So.
Yeah, I totally agree. I love that. And with Hackergal, I know one of the ways that you teach coding is through gamification. So I mean, that's one of my favorite ways to learn, and as an adult even still, and I know it's a lot of people. So what was the reasoning behind that when implementing that way of learning?
That's exactly it, Tiff. Like, I think kids learn so well when there's like a gaming component to it, right? Like, there's some kind of reward or like something that you're working towards. So yes, our hackathon program has a gamification model where teachers can give out badges. So you can you code your project for the hackathon that coincides with a social impact mission. And then we invite teachers to invite parents or people in tech to come and score those projects. And then when you're working in teams, you can get the highest score gets a reward for user experience or coding, like how much variables did you include, or like components of code did you include. So there's lots of really fun ways that we celebrate coding and celebrate trying something new at the end of the day, right? So I think girls, the one thing we always say is that, like, coding, I mean, our hackathon program is not just about coding. It's about celebrating trying something new, the perseverance behind coding. So you're learning a lot of these soft skills that we're not really talking about, but we should be talking about when you're coding, right? It's not just your tech skills. You're learning like how to problem solve, growth mindset, all of that great stuff. So it's a fun way to get girls involved in coding.
I love that. I absolutely love that, because I think it's not spoken about enough is the soft skills behind coding, problem solving, or even working in a team, or feeling comfortable to ask questions. Those are all really big soft skills that you have to just keep on flexing and practicing to get stronger. Those muscles get stronger. And so often, especially coding, is just looked at as it is a technical skill, but we often forget all the soft skills that come around. You can be an average coder, but if you have strong soft skills, it can really lift you up versus the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's great. I'm sure you have countless stories of girls who took your program and now maybe they're in university or working, but is there one success story you can share with us of a girl who took your program and now where she is today?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's so many, and I truly think I have one of the best jobs because I get to work with so many brilliant young minds. Yes. Tiff, I was saying that earlier to you before, like the girls that are going through our program are thinking so much bigger than we ever thought when we were younger. Like so many different ideas on how technology can change their everyday problems, and that's the essence of it, right? Yeah. Innovation. So when I think about I've worked with a student, her name is Samia. She has been part of the Hackergal community ever since she was in grade 6. And when I first met her, her dad registered her for one of our workshops. And she was such a shy, timid girl. Like she was in grade 6, and this was like in 2015. Yeah. Just came in, kind of kept to herself, did the coding exercises, whatnot. But she kept to it. Like every year she would come back, and she came back. And now she's been part of our ambassador program for the past 2 years. She's in grade 11 now. She's thriving. Like her skill sets are beyond like where I was when I was that young. And she's leading our coding workshops. She's presenting in front of our national community of girls. Like it's so wonderful to see her grow. And I think that's the most impactful thing to me is that like I've been able to witness her growth and her mind. Like now she's actively saying like I'm going to pursue computer science. I'm going to apply for that degree in comp sci. She was like presenting at one of our workshops, and she's like, oh, like I'm actually in my computer science class right now. My teacher let me out to do this workshop. And it's just so cool to see that like from a girl that was in grade 6 that, you know, didn't know anything about computer science. And I'd like to think that Hackergal had a part in her journey to get to where she is today. And I'm just like so proud. It's like a proud mom moment, but you know what I mean? Like a little, I'm like, that's amazing. And I hope that Hackergal has that impact on so much more girls, like as they think about themselves and technology.
I love that. Oh, that gives me chills. That's what it's all about.
Yes, exactly.
Going back to when you mentioned how your grassroots approach to starting Hackergal, and you just started DMing teachers. You made it sound so easy.
Oh, it's not. You know it's not.
I know. And I know, you know, you're just like, I DM people. I'm like, but even hearing it from you, my personality or my thinking, it like gave me fear. I was like, oh my gosh, the rejection possibilities. Yeah. How did you overcome that fear of rejection or just putting yourself out there when Hackergal was just starting and it wasn't necessarily a proven concept, meaning that it wasn't as widely used as it is now? Yeah.
That's a great question. I think it sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. There was a lot of people that didn't think that, like they were very much against an all-girls program. There was a lot of people, and I don't blame them. Like this was like, again, what you said in 2015, women in tech was not nearly talked about. So the whole concept of like creating a safe space for girls to learn how to code was like, why would you segregate boys? And then my reaction to that was like, well, look at the landscape right now. There's no women. So what are we doing about that?
Yeah.
Like, are we just going to sit back and just like, let's just hope girls will get there one day. Right. So it really sucked. And I think like rejection just sucks in general, like whatever the case is. But you just have to like really believe in what you're doing. I think it comes down to passion and the motivation behind what you're doing. Yeah. And it took a lot of times of me reminding myself, like, you know what, if I can impact just one person, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's hard to boil an ocean. I've heard that phrase. Like it's hard to like boil a whole ocean, but if you can just like do a little bit at a time, it will get there if you truly believe in your mission. And I think that's what really helped me get through times where a lot of teachers may say like, I can't host this program because of X, Y, Z, or people just saying like, oh no, I think it's not inclusive enough or whatnot. So yeah, it was hard. And I'm sure that you know that even being a woman in tech, feeling, you know, uncomfortable or just like rejected in any shape or form, it's hard.
It is hard. I love that. I've actually never heard that expression before. You can't boil an ocean. Yeah. I like that though. It's a good visual.
Yeah. It's like, no, I cannot do that.
Yeah. What are some, and maybe some things you can't necessarily share yet, but what are some upcoming events that you can share that Hackergal is putting on? Or if people want to learn more about Hackergal, I'll link, of course, down below your website and socials, but are there any events coming up you can share?
Yeah, we actually have our 11th National Hackergal Hackathon happening in May. It's a 1-week hackathon. It's a hybrid program, so it's designed for girls in grades 6 to 9. It's a free program, so you get to come and code with our national community. Community is our theme this year, our programming theme, making big change through community. So we're asking our community to reflect on how technology can change your own personal experiences in your own community. So that's coming up on May 25th.
Okay.
Till June 1st. We have a lineup of amazing events and speakers for that. So yeah, if you want to know more, check out hackergal.org.
Awesome. I'll link it down below. Lucy, the last question I ask everyone on here is what advice would you give to your younger self?
Yeah, I think my advice that I would give to my younger self is to bet on yourself. I think it's just so hard being a young girl. Like, I think, even thinking about the experiences we had when we were younger, the things that were top of mind, that in hindsight we're like, what were we thinking? Like, why were we even upset about that? Or like, why were we even worried about that? Because like, you got to where we are now, and you got through those hard times and whatnot. But I think it's just a reminder to like bet on yourself, and if you don't, no one else will. So I think that's just so important for any young girl to know that, build that confidence, bet in yourself, and everything will work out.
I totally agree. I always say, be your biggest cheerleader, which is essentially that too.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's another way of saying
no,
bet on yourself.
I like bet on yourself though. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Lucy, thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. It was so awesome to hear more about Hackergal and your journey leading up to it.
Thanks for having me, Tiff.
Thank you.